Yin Yoga for the hips. The yoga techniques and suggestions presented in this instructional video are not intended to be a substitute for proper medical advice. Consult your physician before beginning any new exercise program. Nor Benian assumes no responsibility for injuries suffered while practicing these techniques. So go easy, take your time, honor your body. Namaste. Be sure to have a blanket. We're going to use it to cushion the ankle bones as we come into bound angle pose. You can tuck a portion of it under the outer edge of the lower leg to help protect and support the legs. We're going to hinge forward slowly and allow the head to drop. If you're finding this extremely uncomfortable, you can always put blocks or a bolster underneath your head to support it. And as you come into the pose, you can remove them. So we'll be here for a little while as Yin takes about 3 to 5 minutes per posture, which is helping us release the tension in the muscles, but mostly in the connective tissue that we call fascia. So by staying still and allowing ourselves to surrender into the posture and also breathing deeply, the body can undo the tension and then the energy can flow through it better. So take long, deep breaths, filling the back of the lungs. Slowly exhaling. Inhale, filling up the sides of the lungs. And slowly exhaling. We'll keep this up for a while. Allow the body to sink into the posture on the exhalations. When you inhale, think about filling up the space between the shoulder blades, expanding that area. And as you exhale, you can gently draw the belly button in toward the spine just to push the last bits of air out. And then when you inhale, start to fill up from the belly, fill the sides, fill the back. And exhale slowly. Inhale, filling up the front and the sides and the back of the lungs. And exhaling slowly. Keep letting the legs drop toward the floor. And allow the head to be heavy. The breath is the most important part of the yoga practice. And so we want to concentrate deeply on bringing in as much air into the lungs as we can. Not only does the oxygen provide us with the nutrients for our cells, but it relaxes our cells. It makes them feel content. And so each breath you take is expanding the insides of you, stretching the lungs, pushing on all the organs, helping the toxins release. And as you exhale, you're taking those toxins out. So inhale as if you're bringing in new energy. And exhale as if you are expelling old energy. I'm going to take another 5 long, deep breaths here. Filling up completely. And exhaling slowly. Let's take our last deep breath here. And instead of coming out, we're going to swing our body over to the right side, as if you were bringing your right ear towards your right knee. And you can use the right arm to support your head. You can place the elbow on a block or on your shin. Let your head rest on your hand. Feel the stretch in the left side of the low back and into the left hip. And continue to take long, deep breaths. At some point, you can let the head drop forward completely and allow the neck to stretch out. Just maintain those full breaths. Let's bring our body back over our feet, pausing here for a breath or two. As you feel ready, you're going to bring your head and body over the left side, using the left arm and hand to support the head, and you can place the elbow on the floor, the shin, or a block. Breathing deeply into the right side, feeling the stretch in the right side of the low back. The right hip grounded. At some point you can drop the head to the side. Inhaling deeply, filling up the lungs. And exhaling slowly and completely. And then let's come back to center again and slowly roll up to sit. Take a breath. So from here, you're going to slide your feet forward without bringing your knees close together. Let them stay open. Stay open through the hips. Let the legs relax for a moment. Take a few deep breaths. You can rock them in and out just to loosen the hips. So from here, we're going to use the blanket again. Fold it up and put it under your bottom. Come to sit on it. And we're going to come into what we call either fire log or square pose. Now, this is not really good for everybody's knees, so starting cross-legged pose and where the feet are under the knees, like a kindergartner would sit. And then you can bring your hands in front of you and then slowly start to move forward. Always waiting for the body to let you in. You can use a block to support the elbows or something bigger like a bolster. You want to ease in slowly, always respecting the body's boundaries without harming yourself by pushing too hard. Yin Yoga is not at all about pushing. It is about allowing and letting and relaxing. And if the body isn't ready to open up, well, then that's where you work. That's the place you spend time, in that moment before it becomes too uncomfortable to bear. You come back, you hold it there for a while, you use your arms to support you, you breathe, you talk your body into relaxing. Eventually, you will deepen into the posture. Make sure you're taking long, deep breaths here. So this pose is working on the outer edge of the hips, especially of the hip with the leg that's either in front or on top. Now it goes right into the glutes and up into the sacrum. This affects the low back. It affects the knee. And so there's a lot happening here. Just pay attention. If your body needs support, like a block or a blanket under the knee, then go ahead and give your body that support. Still taking long, full, deep breaths. Try to remain still and quiet the mind. If you find mental resistance to the posture, either you're in too deep or you just need to take longer, deeper breaths. Eventually the nervous system will start to unwind and relax, moving into parasympathetic mode, bringing the mind into a more meditative or contemplative state. Filling the lungs all the way from the bottom to the top. And exhaling slowly. Pets like it when we're down on the ground, so don't be surprised if they bother you. Just do your best to breathe through the distraction and give them whatever they need. Eventually they'll go away. From here, we're going to slowly round the back, letting the head hang, and push ourselves up with our arms. And we'll carefully undo the legs and switch. So whichever leg was in front is now in behind, or whichever leg was on top is now underneath. And we'll begin with the hands on the floor or blocks in front of us. Taking our time, this hip could be very different from the other. Using support to begin is always a good way to move in. Easing, gradually moving toward the deepening of the posture. Let's come back to full breathing. knee ever bothers you here, think about flexing the ankles. That usually helps. If your body's allowing you in a little deeper at any time, go ahead. Remove some support or just walk the hands forward a little bit more. Let the head drop, rounding the back, breathing deeply up into the back of the lungs, up in between the shoulder blades, and exhaling slowly. Try to let go through any resistance in the hips, softening them, talking to them, sending your intention to work through this tension with them, and encouraging them to soften. Flexibility is different for each person based on many things, and one of them is the bone structure. So for some people, you may already be as flexible as you could be, but you're not coming into the posture all the way. And that's because of the head of the bones rubbing against each other, and there's a limitation to the openness of the joint. So please don't try to push beyond that. Just be okay with where you're at. Achieving the posture isn't really the goal. The goal is to release tension and be as open and as fluid as possible in the body, allowing that energy to flow through you without any blockages. So let's take some deep breaths here. Inhaling fully. And exhaling slowly. Slowly, using your hands, push yourself up, keeping your back round and your head hanging. Take a moment. And then carefully undo the legs. We're going to come into our next posture. So you'll still need your blanket to be underneath you. We're going to come into shoelace, which is knee over knee, and the feet can be out to the sides or closer to the body. So you'll know what your body needs by which position you put it in. So from here, you can massage your calves a little bit. You have easy access to that line between the shin bone and the calf muscle, which is often very tense and tight. So you can give that a bit of a massage. You can massage the feet, especially the arches, since you have access. Using the heels of your hands, you can apply some pressure. We're going to start leaning forward, using the hands for support, either by holding the feet or placing the hands on the floor in front of you. If you start to come in even more, then you can use a block or a bolster to support you as you lean in. And we do have an alternate version where you lie on your back and you pull the feet down on each side of your body with the knees crossed. Just taking long, deep breaths. As your body allows, you can drop the head and round the back. Filling up the lungs all the way. Exhaling slowly. Taking deep breaths. Sometimes the feet can lose circulation here. If that's the case, pull them a little closer to your hips. Or come out of the pose altogether, and then you can move into any relaxed position until they regain circulation. Let's take a few more long, deep breaths. And just before we finish up, you can try bending your elbows, bringing your palms together behind the head. And this takes you in just a little bit more deeply. And then we'll slowly make our way up using our hands for support. And so now we can release, and we're going to undo the legs slowly. Give yourself a moment here so that they regain circulation. When you're ready, we're going to switch sides, bringing the opposite knee on top. Now again, remember, the feet can be closer to your body to be a little bit less of a stretch through the hips and knee, or the feet can be a little bit further out, which will intensify this posture. So lift up through the body. Make sure you have your props nearby. And you can again massage the feet and the calves if you like. And when you're ready, you're going to start to lean into the posture. Taking your time, not rushing. Using the hands for support. And as you feel ready, you can let the head drop forward, rounding the back. And taking longer, deeper breaths into the back of the lungs. Tuck your hips into relaxing a little more. Often you need to repeat the request gently to the body several times before there's any result. Give it a try. Ask the inner thighs to relax. Ask the outer hips to relax. Ask the buttocks to relax. Keep taking those deep breaths, and as you exhale, soften all those resistant and tense areas. Keep softening. Filling up the lungs all the way from the bottom to the top and up in between the shoulder blades. Let's take a few more deep breaths here. Let's take another long, deep breath here, filling up all the way. And exhaling ever so slowly. We'll begin to make our way up, rounding our back, letting our head hang. We'll undo the legs. And pause for a moment. So from here we're going to come up and turn our blanket into a roll so that we have a little support under our knee when we come into lunge, which is our next posture. So bring your left knee down onto the bolster. We're going to step forward with the right foot between the hands and swing the hips forward. Be sure that the blanket roll under the knee is comfortable for your kneecap. You can use blocks on either side of your right foot to support you in this posture. These blocks don't turn up any higher, but you can set the blocks up at the highest setting if that is what works best for your body. So we're allowing the left hip to drop down toward the floor, releasing tension there. We'll be here for a little while. This is one of the most challenging postures in Yin. We hold so much tension in the front of the hip, because we're seated at 90 degrees pretty much all the time. Reach forward with the chest. Deepen the breath. If your wrists are uncomfortable, slide your hands forward toward the end of the block so the fingers hang over the front edge. This alleviates the pressure on the wrists. Still taking those long, deep breaths and convincing that left hip to let go. Many, many layers of tension in the connective tissue and muscles. We hold a lot of fear in the hips, and so the whole area tends to hold itself a little more tightly than it needs to in most cases. But this ends up causing other areas to be compromised, like the low back or where the sacrum and hip join. So we need to work out the tension in the hips in many different angles. So from here we're going to bring our blocks to the inside of our right foot, and we're going to walk our right foot out to the outer edge of the mat. We can bring our elbows and forearms down onto the blocks as we sink down into dragon pose. And we're allowing the right knee to swing out as far as the hip requires for us to feel comfortable. Make sure the roll under the back knee is still in a good place for you to feel comfortable. You can let the head drop down and begin to breathe more deeply, filling up the lungs and releasing the tension in the right hip. Taking those long, deep breaths. And then we'll slowly make our way back up, walking the right foot in and lifting the chest a little higher. Now, if you want to take this pose a little deeper, you can try bending your back leg and reaching for your foot with your hand. Now, you can use the same arm as leg, or you can switch. So I'll be showing you different ways that you can try to advance the posture here. Applying weight into the front leg to support you. And here I'm switching the grip with my opposite arm and lifting the chest. This is a really nice extension through the front of the body. And then release. Bring your back knee forward a little bit more on the blanket roll and straighten out your front legs so that the hips are in alignment still, and flex your front foot. I'm going to be here for a little while in this hamstring stretch. Send your right sit bone back. Of course, taking long deep breaths. If you can, you might be able to lower the head down towards the leg. So ideally we're here for at least 2 minutes, maybe even all the way up to 5 to release that tension. So if it's any less than 2 minutes, it's not affecting the connective tissue, which is what we're really looking for. At least in a yin practice, that's what we're looking for. We're working on yin tissues. Okay, so we're coming out. Let's bring the right knee onto the blanket. And we're going to step the left foot forward between the hands, swinging the hips forward, adjusting the blocks so that the arms are properly positioned under the shoulders. We're going to let the hips sink down toward the floor. Keep the chest reaching forward, the shoulders down from the ears, and we'll take long, deep breaths. Filling up the lungs with the breath from the bottom to the top. Keep letting go through the right hip flexor, softening and releasing. This posture, you want to make sure that the ankle is under the knee, not too far forward and not too far behind the knees. So just try to remember that alignment. Let's take a few more breaths in this position. You can bring the blocks to the inside of the foot and walk your left foot out closer to the outer edge of your mat. And then bring your forearms down onto your blocks, allowing your body to move into this posture all the way down into what we call dragon pose. Let that left knee drop out. You don't need to control it or hold it in. And we'll continue taking those long, deep, full breaths into the lungs. Allowing those hips to sink toward the floor. Let's take a few more long, deep breaths here. We'll slowly make our way up. Perhaps we're able to bend the back knee, reaching for the back foot with either hand. In this case, we're getting a nice front of the body stretch, lifting the chest. The quadriceps are being stretched, the hip flexor is being stretched, and of course the left hip as well. And then we'll switch the hands and reach up a little higher with the body, and then bring the left arm up, using the left leg to support you. It's always good to give it a try. From here, we're going to straighten out the front leg and pull the hips back into alignment. So it's not like you're coming into the splits. You're actually on top of your right knee. Flex the left foot and send the left hip flexor back. Breathe deeply. You can set the blocks at any height that is required for you to be comfortable here. You can pull them in a little closer to be beside your knee, or anywhere from that point all the way to being beside your foot. We'll be here for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. Keep that breath full. Take a couple more long, deep breaths. And perhaps there's room for you to drop forward into this pose just a little more deeply, dropping the head. Breathing fully. We're going to slowly make our way out, bringing both knees onto the blanket, and then We'll slowly make our way into our next posture, opening up the blanket and laying it across the middle of your mat. Bring your shins on top, and we're going to come down into child's pose, letting the head drop down. Your arms can be wherever you like, either above the head, stretched out, or hands under the forehead, or arms down alongside your legs. And we'll be here for several deep breaths. Do your best to relax into this posture. If you're finding it difficult to ease in and allow the hips to soften, or if the knees are uncomfortable, try separating the knees wider than your body width and letting the body sink between the legs. You can also put a rolled blanket behind the knees if there's a lot of discomfort and pressure in the knees. This will help separate the thigh from the calf, giving more space for the knee. So let's deepen the breath, filling up the lungs all the way into the back ribs. And filling up all the way into the side ribs, all the way up into the armpits. Big, long, full, deep breaths. I'll just take a couple more full breaths here. And you can stay longer if that feels good. And slowly rolling up if you're ready. Namaste.